Hello, welcome to Studies in Theatre MOOC program. Today we are going to discuss about American theatre. American theatre, as the name indicates, is about the theatre culture that prevails in North America. And this lecture is going to give you a general idea of its history, its main achievements, and the situation that prevails right now. So, when this word comes to one's mind, American theatre or drama, this encompasses a broad spectrum. And there are a lot of theatrical works produced in American continent. They are performed and called as the plays and theatre culture of United States of America. It ranges from wide variety of things like musicals, off-Broadway, folk theatre, modern theatre, proscenium theatre. And it has its roots in the early colonial period because America was colonized by the Europeans, and the performances were often drawing inspiration from various European traditions like indigenous storytelling practice and proscenium theatre, religious theatre, theatre related to Christianity, life of Jesus. So it refers when we look at the entire spectrum of the American theatre, what we see is the complexities and nuances of society, culture, politics, and for exploring pressing issues, challenging prevailing norms and fostering dialogue and empathy has become the hallmark of American theatre. One of the earliest productions is Ye Bear and Ye Cub, that is in 1665. This was a play performed in the American colonies, specifically in Virginia in 1665. It is regarded as one of the earliest recorded theatrical performance in English-speaking North America. Although we do not have a lot of documentation available about this play, but this play is one of the important point of departure in the American theatre. Historical documents are not much, and the information that is only about that some kind of a play was performed in that time. Otherwise, not much. The title itself is suggesting that it might have been a comedy play, a light-hearted kind of a play where, probably some people were referred to as bear and some people were referred to as cubs. Or most likely, according to the performance practice that prevailed in that time, this play must have been performed in the open air kind of an arrangement. And because theatre buildings had not yet been constructed, so some kind of makeshift theatre must have been created. So that is all that we know about this earliest history of theatre in America. Then, how theatre originated in America, that has, of course, a kind of a documented connection, documented thread. So we can trace that back to colonial experience because American land was colonized by the Europeans, and when they traveled to Europe, traveled from Europe to America, they took with them their cultural traditions, and theatre is an important part of that. So, European influence, then Shakespeare's influence specifically, this is also a noteworthy kind of a thing. Shakespeare's plays were particularly influential in carrying the early colonial theatre, despite the challenges of performing full-scale productions in the colonies. Shakespeare's plays were often adapted in the stage, and they were staged by the amateur acting troupes. So, and European theatre was used as a personal medium of entertainment for their personal self by the early settlers from Europe. So this kind of atmosphere created a fruitful ground for theatre to start happening. And apart from the colonial influences and Shakespeare's influence, the traditions that started taking place involve morality plays, masks, and early forms of Shakespearean drama. Then religious plays were, as I had said earlier, religious plays also had a very strong place in this original mapping of the original culture of theater in America, because religious themes were prevalent in Europe also, and biblical stories, morality plays were used to convey the lessons of Christianity community to the community of people living there. And they were also performed in makeshift stages, makeshift theater spaces, in outdoor settings. Then traveling troops from Europe also visited, and they had an important influence on American theater space. Although Puritan opposition was there towards theater in some colonies, but traveling troops which were carrying the actors and theater people would occasionally come from different cities of Europe to different parts of America. And these would include a mix of Shakespearean plays, comedies, musicals, and entertainment pieces. The first American play, as I told you, has been the Ye Bear, Ye Cub, and not much is known about it except for the name and the place that it was staged in. So, throughout the colonial period, British theatre was the dominant trope, and it exerted its influence on American drama. Playwrights like Shakespeare and Ben Jonson, Christopher Marlowe, they were performed in colonial theatres and English theatrical styles, and conventions shaped American theatrical productions. The themes that we can see in these early productions are, something related to the identity and cultural distinctiveness of the people who were coming to settle down in America from European cultures. American themes also started emerging later on, and they also most of the time reflected the colonial life, exploration, settlement, struggle for independence. These kinds of themes were mainly part of the representations in these productions. The American Revolutionary War and the quest for independence from Britain also had an impact on American theatre. Patriotism and nationalism became prominent themes in theatrical productions, and plays celebrating American heroes and commemorating significant events in the struggle for independence were staged. So this is an important phase now. We can see that the things had started taking a kind of a shape. So expansion and innovation became now the next things to achieve in the following decades after the American Revolution. Because diversity was more there, and new theaters were built in major cities, and American playwrights had also started to emerge. They were writing plays on about their experiences and concerns of the newly born nation. So these are some of the ideas related to the origins of American theatre. Now, when we look at the themes, specifically some themes of this kind of theatre, we find that other than the influences that were there, the different kinds of influences that were there, its colonial origin, and important thing was some of the important plays. Let's, for example, I'll give you some examples. Other than the first play that I mentioned, it's Uncle Tom's Cabin in 1852, a hugely popular melodrama adapted from Harriet Beecher Stowe's novel addressing the issue of slavery and featuring highly dramatic emotional scenes. Then another 19th century play was minstrel shows, performances like those by the Virginia minstrels, which incorporated music, dance, and comedic sketches with derogatory portrayals of African Americans by white performers. So this was in 19th century. Then when we come towards the later 19th century and 20th century, then we see that Broadway has started taking shape. Hamilton is one important play, Lin-Manuel Miranda's very important musical that tells the story of Alexander Hamilton using hip hop, rap, and diverse casting, premiered in different parts of America. And in 2015, it became a very popular play. Then Phantom of the Opera Andrew Lloyd Webber's iconic musical, which premiered on Broadway in 1988, and it also became one of the longest running shows in Broadway history. Other than this, there are regional theaters like the Guthrie Theater in Minneapolis and Minnesota, known for its classic and contemporary productions as well as its commitment to fostering new talent and engaging with the community. Then Berkeley Repertory Theater in California, a renowned regional theater known for producing innovative and diverse works, including new plays and reimagined classics. Other than this, there are experimental and avant-garde theatre traditions also, and the living theatre, known for groundbreaking works like Paradise Now in 1968, challenging the traditional notions of performance and audience participation. Then the Wooster Group, known for their play Brace Up in 1991, a play which deconstructs Anton Chekhov's Three Sisters through innovative staging and multimedia elements. We can also witness diversity and inclusion in the plays of American theatre culture. Sweat by Lynn Nottage in 2015. This has already been talked about in some previous discussion. It's a Pulitzer Prize winning play that explores the lives of working class Americans in a changing economy, particularly focusing on the experiences of women and people of color in a Rust Belt town. Then Michael R. Jackson's play, A Strange Loop, produced in 2019. It is a musical, innovative play which explores the intersection of race, sexuality, identity, and it features predominantly Black and LGBTQ plus cast and creative team. Technology has now provided very significant paradigm to American theater, and films like Broadway, like The Lion King, and a highly immersive theater version of a play called Sleep No More, an adaptation of Macbeth, are doing the rounds as very good examples of digital intervention in today's times. So these are some aspects of the plays that I have that give us this idea that American theater is full of uh, variety, full of diversity, and it has not only inherited the European context and style, but has also created single-handedly a very different kind of a paradigm of its own. Now, some of the themes of the old theatre, as I told you, you can see this is one picture of an old theatre which often reflected the moral and religious values of the settlers. Many early productions focused on biblical stories, morality tales, and religious allegories, serving both as entertainment and as a means of reinforcing religious teachings. Then emergence of indigenous storytelling practices also is part of theatre practice in America. Native American traditions, uh, in addition to European influences, colonial theatre also began to incorporate elements of indigenous storytelling practices. So people who were the original residents of American continent, the storytelling practices of their culture also were borrowed and adapted in the theatre space. The tribes had their own rich traditions of oral storytelling, ritual performances, and dramatic enactments. This influenced the development of colonial theatre. In addition to this, we could see the cultural exchanges that were taking place because different kinds of European settlers were reaching in America, and they were carrying with them the different kinds of cultural interventions and which were having a fusion with each other. So the elements of Native American storytelling, then performance techniques of Europe. So this defined a very nice fusion shape to the cultural theater or the cultural atmosphere of America, and that included the drama. Some of the important themes in the earliest plays are like these: the religious narratives. The themes were pervasive in early colonial theatre, the theme of religion. And the plays were very religious in nature, and they were made to influence the settlers as well as the original communities. The biblical stories taken from Bible and morality plays, allegorical dramas were used. One of the important plays of this time, that is in 1621, written by William Brewster, The Pilgrim, is believed to be the earliest example. This is considered one of the basic texts, and it was like most likely it was performed in Plymouth in Massachusetts in 1621. There are limited historical information about this play. So, as about the other play that we mentioned, so we don't know much about it. It is believed to have been a simple theatrical production performed by the pilgrims to celebrate and commemorate their arrival in the New World and the first Thanksgiving. It likely featured scenes depicting the pilgrims' journey aboard the Mayflower, that is the ship, and their interactions with Native Americans. Then, in addition to this, the first harvest celebration is also part of this play's discussion. Given the lack of detailed historical records, we can't say much about this play, but we can just say that it has a connection to the colonies, people coming from Europe, and people who had certain memories that they were carrying with them from Europe, and people of America who were there. They also had some kind of things to add to this in terms of the idea of what America may be in future. So this is the significance of this play. So the most important thing about this play is just the fact that it is one of the earliest play, and we cannot critique more about it because of the lack of information. Then exploration and adventure is a very important theme of the plays of America, especially written in the old times, because colonial period was characterized by exploration, discovery, and the expansion of European powers into new territories. And this was often dramatized and also very much glamorized or romanticized in early American drama, and they would celebrate the spirit of discovery, the excitement of encountering new lands and space. So, an example of this kind is the discovery of Guyana, 1596, written by Sir Walter Raleigh. This play explores the adventures of Sir Walter Raleigh and his expeditions to South America in search of El Dorado, the mythical city of gold. So this play is written by Elizabethan playwright. Okay, you know George Chapman, and it was first published in 1596. It is not a play performed in America, but rather one that was written in England and is significant for its portrayal of exploration and colonization, particularly the European exploration of the Americas. So the play as I said, dramatizes the exploits of Sir Walter Raleigh, an English explorer, soldier, writer, who led the expeditions to South America in search of the fabled city of El Dorado. The discovery of Guyana portrays Raleigh's encounters with indigenous peoples, his efforts to establish English settlements, and his quest for wealth and glory in the New World. Chapman's play reflects the fascination with exploration and colonization that characterized the Elizabethan era, as well as the prevailing attitudes towards indigenous peoples and the lands they inhabited. It also sheds light on the motivations and ambitions driving European exploration and expansion during this period. So, while the discovery of Guyana is not a play performed in America, it is significant for its portrayal of themes and events relevant to the early history of European exploration and colonization of the Americas. That also includes the encounters between Europeans and the indigenous people who were living there, the conflicts, the quest for wealth and power, and the cultural and ideological clashes that accompanied the process of colonization. This play is a very good example of the kind of gaze that is developed in the colonial mind to look at the lands of the world as something which is made to serve a kind of people. So the expeditions that Europeans would undertake and the glamorization of the expeditions that was done during the Elizabethan age is a very significant process to publicize travel, because travel was considered synonymous with knowledge. Today's world is different. You don't need to travel in order to seek knowledge and attain knowledge. But in that time, it was traveling with long distance traveling, that is, traveling to different lands and explore them, conquer them, was considered synonymous with knowledge. And it was considered very noble. So, when we look at colonial experience, we must keep in mind that people who colonized the world did it with a very noble intention, the so called noble intention. They had the idea that they were doing something very noble for humanity, because that is how the world should be. The way they look at the world, it should be that way. So, if people who did not live or exist according to the principles of European lifestyles, they needed to be either moderated, adapted, or removed from the face of the earth. This play therefore documents all those things, although it is not written in America, but this play is about America, or rather Americas. Then, when we look at other kinds of issues, colonial struggle formed a very important resource to the themes and problems faced by themes that are celebrated in American drama, American theater. It includes conflicts with indigenous people, struggles for survival, and other things. And the writers, therefore, have addressed the conflict, conquest, and the quest for freedom, as well as independence, reflecting the harsh realities of colonial life. This play, Metamora, or The Last of Wampanoags, is a play written by John Augustus Stone. It was first published in 1829. It is significant in American theatre history for several reasons, like, for example, its topic, the theme, because the play deals with Native American themes, particularly the story of Metamora, a fictionalized Native American chief based loosely on historical figures like Metacomet, also known as King Philip, who was a Wampanoag leader involved in King Philip's War. The play explores the themes of identity, cultural clash, and the impact of European colonization on Native American communities. It had a very popular reception. It was extremely popular because it performed something which was very close to the heart of especially the people who empathized with the loss that the indigenous people had incurred in the making of America, the European America. And its success can also be attributed in part to its sensationalization portrayal of Native American characters, the themes which appeal to audiences' fascination with the noble savage trope. Culturally, also, this play is very significant because it reflects the attitudes and stereotypes prevalent in American society. So, it is a kind of documentation of the stereotypes that existed. And while sympathetic to the plight of Native people, it also perpetuated, romanticized, and stereotypical portrayals that reinforced prevailing notions of Euro American cultural superiority. It introduced innovations in theatre production because elaborate stage sets were made, special effects of kind were done to create realistic depictions of Native American life and landscapes. It also featured impressive performances by actors in the lead role, and that gave longevity and popularity to the play. So while this play is enjoyed immensely during its time, it has become relatively obscure now. It only remains significant as an early example of American theatre and Native American themes as a reflection of the cultural and social dynamics of the early 19th century. So this is the significance of this particular play. Now, we can always say that what is a need for such kind of a play where we are uh, in all sense stereotyping the natives. That also speaks about the kind of writing that existed in that time, and that represents the need to decolonize theatre writing uh, when we read such kinds of plays. Then the revolutionary period enters, that was between 1775 to 83, and this period brought social, political, and cultural changes. And the themes that were part of this plays that produced during this period is, first of all, the patriotic themes. The plays celebrating American heroes, commemorating significant events of the revolution became very popular. These productions often depicted the struggles and sacrifices of the patriots fighting for independence and served to rally public support for the revolutionary cause. Then the idea of nation had also started emerging during this period, and therefore the war influenced shaping American identity. And theatre also receives that kind of themes, and performances including patriotic themes help to foster a sense of unity and shared purpose among Americans, contributing to the development of distinct American cultural identity separate from the British influence. In this era, there was an increase in satirical and politically charged theatre. Playwrights would use comedy, satire, political allegory to comment on the contemporary events and issues that were participating in the Revolutionary War, and the behavior of British authorities, the debates related to that, independence, self governance, etc. So these plays provided a platform for representing the voice of dissent, and that also led to shaping of public opinion. Revolutionary War and its aftermath led to the expansion of theatre in America, because as population grew and cities developed, theatres became more numerous and accessible to wider audience. The increased demand for entertainment combined with growing interest in cultural expression contributed to the flourishing of theatre in post-revolutionary America. Then it also had a great influence because adversities are also good for creating art, and that's happened in America also. The war led to influence playwrights and actors who were either directly involved in the revolutionary cause or not. They were writing plays based on the events of the war and ideals of revolution. Actors also participated in patriotic fundraisers and provided new opportunities for women and African American to participate in theatre both on the stage and off the stage. Then we see the plays that were produced during this time were one of the plays, The Disappointment, which is a notable example of an early American play that reflects the cultural and political climate leading up to American Revolutionary War. However, it's important to clarify that The Disappointment was not written by Andrew Barton, rather, it was authored by Andrew Barton in 1767, an Irish born American playwright. And it is a satirical play criticizing the British colonial policies, and it lampoons British officials, particularly Governor Thomas Hutchinson of Massachusetts, who was a prominent figure at the time. The play is set in a fictional kingdom ruled by tyrannical power, and a governor named Mungo who abuses his power and exploits his subject. The plot revolves around a scheme by Mungo to extract taxes from his subjects through deception and coercion, only to face a humorous and ultimately futile disappointment in his efforts. That's why the play is titled this way. The play also serves as a critique to a British colonial rule and the grievances felt by many American colonists leading up to the Revolutionary War. So this is about this play, and then this other play, that is the Battle of Bunker. It is a historical play written by Hugh Henry Brackenridge, a Scottish American writer. The play dramatizes the Battle of Bunker Hill, which took place on June 17, 1775, near Boston in Massachusetts. The battle was one of the earliest and most significant engagements of the Revolutionary War, in which American colonial forces clashed with the troops. This play reflects the patriotic fervor which was the mood of that time, and the nationalist sentiments that prevailed among the American colonists during the Revolutionary War. Then you have few more examples like the block heads or the affrighted officers by Lewis Hallam. This play was performed in 1776 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It is significant for the fact that it also featured on revolutionary context, satirical content, it provided patriotic entertainment, and it has its historic significance because it is one of the earliest examples of American theatre productions directly addressing contemporary political events and themes. Then this play, The Contrast, in 1787 by Royal Tyler, is also significant because this play focused on satirical commentary. Characterization of this play is very important because it makes fun of the British people, and the characters embody contrasting values and attitudes, highlighting the cultural and social tensions of post-revolutionary war period. The play is also a documentation of cultural identity, theatrical innovation, and the legacy of revolutionary spirit that was prevailing in America, and that time it needed to be captured in terms of the artistic productions. So this much about American theatre. I have given you a very basic discussion in this presentation. Hopefully, we will have another lecture in which I will discuss something more about the contemporary American theatre and how it has evolved to see what we see today. So I hope you have enjoyed this discussion. Thank you very much. See you in different lecture.